So Kris Jenkins yesterday had the game of his career. He went out there and had 2 sacks, 2 total tackles, 2 tackles for a loss as well. So all his tackles were his own tackles, not like team tackles, whatever. No, he made his tackles by himself. He also had 2 tackles for a loss in those 2 tackles and 2 sacks. And in the end, we now find out he was fighting the flu to play this game. He had the flu. And he still went out there and performed as well as he did. And again, you know, I don't think there's many people a bigger fan than me of Kris Jenkins, right? I love Kris Jenkins. I was the guy who said we should have drafted him in my mock drafts last year. We ended up drafting him. I was absolutely ecstatic. I ordered his jersey within like 10 seconds of us drafting him. I was very, very happy. And I am so beyond happy that he is living up to expectations. And he's playing such good football. Because again, after losing DJ Reader, we need this. We honestly need this more than anything. You know, this is, again, with all of our defensive problems, this is good toward the future, right? This is a good look toward the future of fixing all the issues we have. But with all of our illnesses this year, I feel like we have had more illnesses this year than any other year. It's been crazy. It's been absolutely insanely crazy. But I'm very happy that in the end here, you know, even with an illness, he still went out there and balled out. And we also do have to give a lot of credit to some other guys as well, like McKinley Jackson, who also had a sack in that game, who is also the future of this defensive line. Moma Jungmita, who also played pretty good in this game. 4 total tackles, 2 solo tackles. Didn't get a sack in this game, but he's more of a coverage guy anyway. Still played really great football. It was out there a lot. I don't know what his snap count is. We'll have to look at that later when the snap count comes out. But just getting out there and playing the very high level, love to see it. I want to see him more in the field. I want to see what he can do and help contribute, especially because he has so much hidden potential, I feel like, that we're going to be able to really see. Now, Myles Murphy, 0 tackles, 0 anything. He didn't do anything. Disappointing, definitely, you know, especially with some of these other guys really having themselves a great game. And I feel like defense across the board in the end played great, even though, yes, they gave up some things. They definitely still played very good. You like to see Myles Murphy do something. Even Cedric Johnson almost had a sack in this game, who obviously the ball, you know, the guy ended up throwing it away, which intentional grounding in the end. But still, he almost had a sack in this game. So you like to see Myles Murphy also, you know, contribute in some capacity. Obviously, it is what it is, you know. Sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not going to work. And so far this season, it's been kind of ups and downs, peaks and valleys from Myles Murphy. Hopefully he does work out. We need him to, because he was a first-round draft pick. You can't really have too many busts at first round, but it is early to even talk about the bust idea for Myles Murphy. Again, like I said, I just hope he turns out well and he figures things out. But across the board, it is what it is. It's just, again, it's that motor that Kris Jenkins has that's so freaking dangerous, man. It is so dangerous, and even when he's sick, the guy is still an absolute animal. And he's only going to get better and better. And that's what I'm so ecstatic for with him, is this is only the beginning. You know, players like him, how he's playing and how the type of player he is, these guys are going to get better and better with time. And more game time, more snaps, you know, just out there. He's only going to get more and more dangerous for opposing offenses. And I am all for it. I am absolutely all for it. 2 sacks, Kris Jenkins. Taylor said, flu game. Kris, flu game. Love it. And again, yeah, I mean, even with the flu, does not matter. I still want to know about Sheldon Rankins. That's another thing I really want to kind of get a full-on gist of. Based on what I've seen, he has an eye thing or eye illness or whatever. I just want to see what's going on with him. That's really what I'm caring about more than anything right now. Obviously, we've had other illnesses, but the other illnesses seem like they've been kind of like, you know, fall but in between. They been illnesses, but they came back. The player come back. The player looked good, whatever. But that that Sheldon Rankins thing, very, very interesting. Now, my guess is, even when he is okay to play again, he'll probably not play. He'll probably just be put on the, you know, kind of bench for the rest of the season. But my question is, why is he not on IR, though? Like, again, like, there's, like, so many questions and not enough answers here. Why is he not on IR? Why is he using up a roster spot at this point? Because, if anything, if you know you're most likely going to cut him after the season, let's be honest. I think everyone knows we're going to cut him. But if he has an eye thing and he's not coming back for the last couple of games of the season, even though you might like, oh, well, there's only 2 games left. I don't care. Pick someone else up. Put him on IR, pick someone else up, and see if someone else can, you know, get some play time and maybe they could be good for us. We got 2 whole games. We got 2 full contact games against the Broncos and then against the Steelers. And both of these teams need to win. They need to win. Both of those teams. And if that's the case, why not see what a Sheldon Rankins replacement could do? There's no, like, downside of picking up somebody. And even if you're like, well, maybe they get like 3 or 4 snaps or whatever, or 5, who cares? Like, maybe they make one big play. And we look at them and say, whoa, that guy has some potential. And then they could help us out next season. You know, this is evaluation time. Obviously, yes, we're fighting for the playoffs, but this is also evaluation time. You're now deciding, you know, in these last couple games, who will stay and who will go. Some players will stay, some players will go. You kind of decide that at this moment in time. So if a player is sick and they can't play, IR them. You're not. If we make the playoffs, you're not bringing back Sheldon Rankins for the playoffs. You're not. So if that's the case, IR him. And kind of, you know, move on to the next guy. And even if, let's say in theory, you're like, well, maybe Sheldon Rankins does come back for the playoffs. Mike Brown does not want to pay him a playoff check. I promise you that. Playoff checks are a lot. Especially once you get to, you know, divisional championship round. Playoff checks, they're an extra little bonus. And there might be a situation in his contract, which, again, we don't know this, that there might be a clause in his contract. If he gets a certain amount of tackles or sacks in the playoffs, he gets extra money. And if you're not going to keep him, they're going to bench him. That's what they did with Irv Smith last year. They didn't want him to hit his snap count total for the year for his extra bonus. So they benched him. So if that's the case, then put him on IR. I mean, you get another spot available for somebody else, and you don't have to worry about giving him extra money. I'll see you guys in the next one, though.